Have you ever found yourself repeating the same code over and over in your Spring controllers? It can be frustrating, right? If that's you, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into best practices for using date parameters in Spring controllers. I totally get it. Writing back-end APIs can sometimes feel like you're stuck in a loop of repetitive tasks. You're not alone in this struggle. Many developers face similar challenges when it comes to date validation. Here's the specific situation we're looking at. One developer recently asked, how can I eliminate duplicate date validation code in my Spring controller methods? They mentioned that they have to validate the since and until parameters in almost every method. Sound familiar? Let's explore this together. So, what's the issue here? Repeating code can lead to maintenance headaches and potential bugs. It's essential to find a way to streamline this process while ensuring that your date parameters are validated correctly. And stick around. I've got a fantastic solution at the end that will not only clean up your code, but also make it more efficient. To eliminate the duplicate date validation code, the user can create a utility method that handles the validation and default value assignment for the date parameters. Next, the user should implement this utility method in their controller. This will allow them to call the method instead of repeating the validation code in each API endpoint. Now let's look at how the utility method might be structured. The user can define it to return a result object containing the validated dates. Finally, the user should ensure that all API methods now utilize this utility method, reducing redundancy and improving maintainability. Fun fact, did you know that the first version of Java was released in 1995? Just like Java, your code can evolve and improve over time. Now, let's look at the answers provided by other users. An alternative approach suggested by another user involves implementing a custom date converter. They recommend creating a class that implements the converter interface from Spring. Next, register this converter with the Spring conversion service. This allows you to use the custom converter directly in your controller methods. Finally, you can simplify your controller method by directly using local date parameters without the need for manual validation. Let's take a look at another answer from another user. An alternative approach suggested by another user involves creating a separate method to validate the date parameters. They recommend calling this method at the beginning of your controller method to handle the date checks. Now, let's dive into a different answer from another user. An alternative approach suggested by a user involves using bean-level validation and a custom date deserializer. This method allows you to eliminate null checks for date parameters. The custom deserializer checks for null values and assigns default dates based on your specified date format. This streamlines your controller methods. Let's take a moment to review another user's answer. An alternative approach suggests creating a model class to hold the date parameters since and until. This model can use custom bean validation to ensure the dates are valid. The user recommends using Lombok for convenience, but standard getters and setters can also be used. The model initializes default values for since and until. To validate the order of the dates, a custom bean validation constraint is introduced. This constraint checks that since is not after until. The user provides a detailed implementation of the validator, ensuring it works for any comparable values. Here's the pro tip I promised. Always aim for dry code. Don't repeat yourself. This principle will save you time and headaches in the long run. And there you have it. By implementing these best practices, your Spring controllers will be cleaner and more efficient. If you found this helpful, hit that subscribe button for more coding tips, and don't miss our next video where we tackle another common coding challenge.